right. Hey, thanks for coming back. So hopefully you have already checked out the first video I did, and this is almost like kind of go-togethers, which I haven't really done yet, but I also don't want you to sit through like a 20-minute video because, that's not always fun. I have done those. But at any rate, moving on. I included this one to kind of go with the story, and I put up a book called Henry the Egg Artiste. And it's just a cute little book about a little bunny rabbit that has to paint all the eggs for Easter and get them out for the kids. And he paints these really, really cute masterpieces. So if you hadn't watched it yet, go back and do it later. You can also read it and put it up as your bedtime story later. Just something to keep you occupied. But what we're going to do now is we're going to create our Easter eggs. So I have one that is completed already. And what we're going to create it out of is just some tissue paper, some glue, whatever we've got lying around. Now, of course, some of these objects might be things that you don't necessarily have laying around. So as I kind of go and create this, I'm going to let you know what things you can do to, kind of compensate for whatever you don't have for the materials that I do already have laying around. Because, like I said, when everything started with the quarantine, some of us may have had some of this stuff, some of us may not, and that is okay. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal if you don't. We can figure stuff out as we go. That is the great thing about art. We are not married to any particular material at any time. But what I used to do this is a little Easter egg sun catcher, and I created this one using some paper. I do not have black construction paper, so this black outline is simply me just taking a black marker. I created the outline. I then cut it out, and this is all tissue paper that I've glued to the back using a little bit of Elmer's glue. I have some clear on hand, but the white Elmer's glue works just as well. I just happen to have some clear. And I mixed it with a little bit of water and a brush, but you don't have to do that at all. And then, of course, my marker. This marker is going to keep it from smearing if you have a permanent marker. If you're worried about a marker that's going to smear, then as always, use a crayon. You can use a colored pencil. That's not going to smear quite as bad. You can use, if you have any colored paper sitting around, you can leave just a white frame. That is not a problem. And then I found just whatever tissue paper I had laying around. You've got from old gifts. That works. You could also use the coffee filter technique that you have already seen me do in a couple of my lessons. And if you're not sure, you don't remember what it is, where we take the coffee filter, we color it in, and we put the water on it to kind of give it the tie-dye effect, let it dry. And you could also glue the coffee filter to the egg templates to give yourself a very similar effect. And then you're going to also have one whole piece as opposed to these little pieces. So we do have many ways to do this. So if you don't happen to have old tissue paper laying around, you can also get yourself the coffee filter and do something very similar. So this is one that I have started and not finished up yet. I didn't put the stripes going across. You may want to kind of choose depending on the age level of your child. Keeping the stripes across might be easier for a younger child. It gives them something to kind of glue it to as they're going. And mom, dad, whoever is your homeschool guardian, it may want to then cut out the pieces for them. An older child may have a much easier time doing a big one. I've done as I'm looking for my scissors, the stained glass technique before. Now, for any of my friends who don't celebrate Easter, this is not a problem. You can draw any kind of a template you want and create a similar thing. You could draw a little butterfly. You could draw a flower. This is springtime. A heart. Mother's Day will be coming up soon. You've got that. So, I mean, you can create anything you want to. You can just take this lesson and this technique that I am doing and apply it for anything you wish. You do not have to create an Easter egg with us if you are someone who does not celebrate the holiday. I would hate for you to feel like you cannot participate with us. Now, the other thing I have laid down is a piece of wax paper. This is going to help me after it is glued to peel it up easier instead of my messy mat. My messy mat is just a paper, and it's going to end up getting glued to the back of this. I have left my little edges. I can just cut this out later. That's not a big deal, but you know, if you want to cut it out ahead of time, no big deal. So I'm going to lay it upside down. Okay, solid black is going upside down on my wax paper. So far, all I have in this cup is my just a touch of water, and it just makes it a little bit easier for the children to kind of work with glue and spread it. If you've got an old brush for them to use, they can do that. If you don't, guess what else you could use? Will the cotton pull? Yeah, a little bit. But it's, you know, if you don't want them to get all over their fingers, it's not a big deal. They can use their fingers too. They can get a little messy. The glue peels right off. So just depending on how you want them to kind of work with their hands. So I'm going to pour just a touch of glue in here, just enough to thicken up the water. And I always use the back of my brush just because this is how I mix my paint too. Don't judge me. When I'm mixing all my colors, when I'm painting, seriously, when I mix this, I don't get out a palette knife. I just sit there with my... The more you know. Thicken up the paint just a touch. Apparently I put more water in there than I realized. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just start taking pieces of tissue paper. Now, if you wanted, you can create a pattern, and you could kind of get over here. Do like stripes and go right across and put them on there. Of course, you would have to see which ones will fit. I've got some that are scraps from last night, so they won't fit all the way across, but you could start creating some stripes and simply do it that way and lay it down. Or, that looks kind of cute. You could do it randomly like I did. And what you're going to do is just take your brush, your finger, your Q-tip, whatever, and you start it by going across. Lay it down, and we'll sweep it across. Let's see, is this one? That's not good. Lay down the yellow. And again, go around my edge. And what I do is I'll do a little bit on the edges to kind of seal them where they meet each other. And that's where you have to worry about whether or not they're going to kind of stick to the paper. But, you know, it's not a big deal. Let's see, this looks long enough to do that. I was right, it is. And then when it's dry, you'll just very carefully try and peel it up from the paper. Very carefully seal that. So we're just kind of going there, and there you go. And where they overlap, you get a real cute little blend too. But again, if you wanted to just kind of haphazard it and do like what I did in the other one, it's your Easter egg. You go ahead and do whatever you'd like to do. Now, one other thing I found last night is I had a random piece of plastic sitting around. And now, most people don't have just random plastic sheets sitting around. So I'm aware of that, which is why this is not a separate lesson. But if you happen to find something that you could draw on like that, you could just take some sharpies and just break it up into some shapes, some designs, and color that into. And then look how pretty that is. Ooh, lovely. And color. Oh, that smells like my markers. But when you find things just laying around, now is the time to kind of look through stuff and recycle and see what you've got, and use it up. If you're just going to throw it out, look for things and recycle them and turn them into art. We're not getting out to the craft stores. We're not getting into Walmart to go hunt through their craft section and do whatever. So absolutely use whatever you have and create something nice. And again, it doesn't have to be an Easter egg, even though this actually turned out pretty good. But it can be whatever little tiny shape you want it to be, a butterfly or a heart, and just make the most of it and decorate it up, guys. So I hope you like these two little sun catcher ideas and you create something lovely and beautiful and have fun doing it. And I'll talk to you guys soon. All right. Have a great day, y'all. Bye.